Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Allie, and today's video is another retelling. I recently, in I believe November, posted my Sleepy Hollow read plus retelling. So the whole idea and concept is reading a classic. It doesn't actually necessarily have to be a classic, but reading the book and then reading a retelling of it, because I feel like there's so many of that with classics. With that being said, I am definitely like sticking to the ones that intrigue me the most right now. And I don't know about you guys, but I really am eyeing that new Frankenstein movie on Netflix. And there's also another one coming out, I think in February. Exciting, although I'm not as excited for that one. The vibes are giving me kind of like what Suicide Squad was for Batman franchise that I didn't care for. But I am so excited for the new one that's on Netflix already, and I'm dying to watch it. But since I am a read before watch, I have to break out the classic. I kind of feel like I am a fake fan because I literally have Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein over my TV in my living room, and I've never read the classic from Mary Shelley. This is one of my retelling videos, so although I am going to be reading the classic Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, I am also going to be watching the new movie because I'm excited for it, but I'm also going to be dabbling into some retellings as far as book-wise. In my Sleepy Hollow video, I only did one retelling, but there's just so many for this that I couldn't choose. There may be some DNFs, who knows, but I have recently been reading from Junji, and I seen that he did a whole manga on Frankenstein, so that's exciting. I want to definitely dabble in that each day. I have heard such good things about, is it Eynhallow or Eynhallow by Tim McGreggor? I've heard amazing things about this. It's a pretty short read as well, and is a Frankenstein retelling that I think is a little bit more like serious, more on the horror side, which I feel like is kind of the vibe for my retelling, but I wanted to add something fun, and I don't know what to expect with this. I do have the audiobook through Hoopla too, so I think that will help. I'm hoping it's not too like contemporary romance, you know, but it just seems like such a great time. This is from Sally Thorne, the author of The Hating Game, which I have not read. I've heard very mixed reviews, so I am intrigued but frightened on how this will go because I am not your typical romance girly. But this is Angelika Frankenstein Makes Her Match, and I believe it's literally just like a love story about her trying to make like the perfect man. So I think it's just gonna be kind of silly, and again, kind of just a silly fun time, if you will. Well, with that being said, we're gonna get into Frankenstein first so that we can read all of these retellings and watch the movie. Victor Frankenstein and the monster he created has held readers spellbound ever since it was published in 1818. On the surface, Frankenstein is a novel of tense and steadily mounting horror, but on a more profound level, it offers searching illumination of the human condition and its portrayal of a scientist who oversteps the bounds of conscience, and of a monster brought to life in an alien world, ever more desperately attempting to escape the torture of his solitude. A novel of hallucinatory intensity, Frankenstein pioneered the deeply explored battle between monster and man, as well as the science fiction genre. I was so excited to get to this one, and I am already close to halfway. There is a like introduction and like foreword at the beginning of this. So story-wise, I'm probably like 30% of the way in, and I'm rather enjoying my time with it. It is a pretty short read. I thrifted this copy of it, and I have really liked it so far. I also have the audiobook on Hoopla, which is nice, but I definitely feel like with this being written the way it is from 1818, you kind of definitely need that like tandem moment to really focus in on what's going on because of the way things are worded. It is reminding me a lot of like Edgar Allan Poe and his writing style of sometimes being confused on what a certain term means or a long statement that they make and being like, what did that mean back then? Can be a little confusing with just audio. So I have liked having the physical copy in my face as well. With that being said, I obviously knew that the doctor or scientist is Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein. Somewhere over time, people have named the monster Frankenstein, and that's when I say Frankenstein, I do mean the green guy with the bolt sticking out of his neck. And then you have the Bride of Frankenstein, but I did know that the scientist doctor is actually Frankenstein, and what he creates is just the creature or the monster, not Frankenstein. So yeah, definitely want to look more into the lore of why over time we just started calling the monster Frankenstein. I think that name is just so different and eerie and just like works for it. But yeah, it is an interesting thing, and I don't think everybody knows that. It is something that like I knew about before going into this book. What I didn't know was how focused this book is on revenge and kind of being cutthroat, murdery, and now there's like a full-on trial going on. I wasn't expecting all of that. I obviously don't know the story well at all, so the adventure going into this not knowing has honestly been fun, but like, again, it was just very unexpected. I am enjoying my time. It is a little slow, and I'm glad that it is a smaller book because of that, but I am very invested. I'm so intrigued to see where this goes, and then to, of course, see like where people take it with the retellings, with the movies, and all of that as well. I am going to continue my read of this and check in with you guys when I have my final thoughts, because I don't really want to say too much more. I feel like we all kind of get the general gist of it, of this scientist doctor who is lonely himself and looking for a companion and going and stealing bodily parts to form this monster who he is then terrified of. And abandons. So we have this monster who is now lonely, looking for a companion and seeking revenge on the scientist and kind of just lashing out because this world is new to him. He doesn't know anything that's going on. And yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I think over time there's supposed to be more of like a bonding experience between them. The whole concept of him asking for not necessarily a bride, but like a companion. And if the doctor or scientist will like do this for him and create another one, and just how he adapts to the overall world in general. That's all I will say. I feel like that is the main gist of it, but I'm excited to see how my experience goes and to let you guys know.
A man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God.
I am back and I have finished Frankenstein. I rather enjoyed my time with this one. This, I will say, my one flaw is that, my God, this feels like such a long book when it is so short. There's definitely parts of it that I'm like, was it necessary? This is boring, let's move on type of vibe. But I still really, really love the gothic and just eerie, unusual way of writing and storytelling. And there's also so many letters in this. You guys know, I've said it many times, I love books that have letters. I'm a huge fan of Dracula, and I feel like this is more like Dracula level. Like, I feel like there is an audience that eats this up, myself included, but there's also people that are gonna be like, this is boring. No, like, it's too old-timey, it's, you know, whatever. So depending on where you usually land on that scale, I think will determine if you will like this before going into it. With that being said, you guys, I kind of feel like a fake fan because there's so much of this story that I didn't even know. I didn't know everything else that had to do with like the trial and like him creating a monster that would then seek revenge because he's casted out as this outsider monster, which, like, duh, you just pieced together body parts and created a human being. It's gonna be a monster. Like, what do you expect? In the book, the monster is actually, like, rather intelligent and can speak normally, and so he knows, like, what this Victor has done to him, that he has created him, and that he is just, like, abandoning him. So he is seeking revenge, and it is a revenge story, which leads to death and taking the lives of Victor Frankenstein's family. And this, and others, but like this leads into a trial that takes place, and I was just like, I didn't know anything like about this. Very much so also reminds me of an Edgar Allan Poe because of the unusual eeriness, but also the just haunting and melancholy grief, but also fear that's intertwined in this in such a unique way. I loved my time with this. I did give it 5 stars. Yes, there is parts towards the end that are just like, all right, let's wrap this up. Or just like, why? Like, why is this so wordy? Like, this shouldn't feel like a 400-page book. With that being said, I also watched or rewatched Frankenstein. I believe it's 1931 was when the movie came out, and I've obviously have seen parts of it. I think as a child, I never really sat through the whole thing. And then I vaguely remember watching it as a teenager and just watching parts of it and falling asleep and whatnot. So now as an adult and my full focus attention on it, I was rather taken back by especially the differences between the movie and the book, but also just like, what? I mean, it's 1931, we can't expect much, but they definitely tried to add satire to it for sure. And literally the opening is this man on a stage warning viewers that this is going to probably be the most horrifying thing they've ever seen. And it's just like, just right from the get-go, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a mess. While the monster himself is the iconic Frankenstein that we know today and love, it's pretty baffling how this movie plays out, I guess you could say. I'm still landing, I think, at like a 3-star in Letterboxd for it, but for the creativity, the monster himself, and there was some really cool visuals with creating the monster, but the differences of having a monster who's practically just a dummy who doesn't talk and just groans and grunts and doesn't know his ass from his head. Like, it's appalling versus what you get in the book. Definitely not as good as the book, but I think it's still a classic watch to get a visual of the monster and the creation and everything about it. There's still a bunch of nods to the book while still being completely different. So yeah, now on to my retellings, but I think I'm going to start with, I think it's pronounced Eynhallow by Tim McGreggor. I've never read anything by Tim McGreggor. I'm not really seeing a lot of reviews on his other stuff, mainly just on this one, but it has a 4.07 rating on Goodreads. I'm excited to jump into it. I see some of my friends on Goodreads who have rated it 4 and 5 stars, so that's pretty promising. And I will also be jumping into The Bride of Frankenstein, which I believe was 1935. So I'm sure the vibes and the overall filming and acting and all of that is going to be rather similar to the first one, but I think they're both just like around an hour long. So like it's not too terrible to like sit through, even if there's portions that are a little bit more like unbearable. I think that there's still like, you know, cool little black and white classics to throw on.
And the atmosphere. Now and then I feel lights fading softly all over me, and I remember last year when I was alone in my bed with all these thoughts in my head and living silently inside.
Another day, another Frankenstein book. I finished Eynhallow, but I know I've barely talked to you guys about this. This is about a woman named Agnes who feels a little cheated. This wind-swept place is not the island paradise her husband promised it to be when they wed. Now this is in Orkney Islands in 1797. Now with 4 young children, she struggles to provide for her family while her husband grows increasingly distant. When a stranger comes ashore to rent an abandoned cottage, Agnes and the other islanders are abuzz with curiosity. Who is this wealthy foreigner, and why on earth would he come to Eynhallow? Her curiosity is soon replaced with vexation when her husband hires her out as cook and washerwoman, leaving Agnes with no say in the matter. Agnes begrudgingly befriends this aristocat in exile, a mercurial scientist who toils night and day on some secret pursuit. Despite herself, she's drawn to his dark, brooding charm. And who is this Byronic stranger sweeping Agnes off her feet? His name is Frankenstein, and he's come to this remote isle to fulfill a monstrous obligation. This was honestly such a fun time for a Frankenstein retelling. I feel like it had all of the elements that I personally would want for a retelling of Frankenstein. It gave off this like gothic charm while still being so different. The character really, Agnes, she really reminded me of like a woman from like one of like my witchy books that I like, that goes back to like the witch trials and like just the way women were treated. That is very much so present in this book. And at the same time, it's kind of like a modern spin on it where like the women are fighting back, or Agnes is at least fighting back. She wants better for herself. She wants better for her children that she honestly didn't really want to begin with, and is now in this predicament of having to raise them and see the way that they are starting to pick up on like their dad's flaws. And it's such a heartbreaking story, but so well written. My heart just ached for Agnes, and although this is another short one, like I was just sucked in and kept turning the pages and couldn't wait to see what happened in her story next. In this retelling, you have a lot of like the same elements that you would expect from the Frankenstein book, but what's really cool is this is almost like after, like, let's say mid-Frankenstein. This is when Dr. Frankenstein flees, and in this case, in this scenario, he goes to this island, and he is looked at as like this stranger, and like, who is this guy? Why would he choose to come here if he wasn't born here? Just like the chemistry and like the overall like friendship that she has with him, I just ate it up. I loved it so much. I didn't go into this really expecting a romance or falling more in that direction, but I loved what this gave, and it was such a great time. I liked all of the nods to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, as well as some nods I feel like even to the movie. The visualization of everything, the way things were described, are incredible. I'm definitely going to keep Tim on my radar for books in the future, because I was just blown away by this writing style. It was so beautiful. And yeah, I feel like there's not a whole lot more to say without like really spoiling things or giving anything away. Yeah, it was just a really beautiful yet heartbreaking story. I think I'm eating that up. Like, I feel like I need the heartbreak right now for some reason. I did forget to show you guys my great illustrated classic of Frankenstein. Look at that cover. Just like the Sleepy Hollow, the story in this is so different than the actual like Frankenstein story. So I don't typically read these as much as they are definitely just like a collector item, the nostalgia. But it does have really cool illustrations throughout that are just stunning. I also finished The Bride of Frankenstein, the 1935, and I rather enjoyed it. I think I like this one more than the original. I like that I feel like there was almost some criticism to the monster not having more intelligence like in the book, and we have a character who in the movie is blind, so he can't see the monster, therefore he's not frightened by him, and he has like this understanding bond with him that like, I can't see and you can't speak, so like, let me teach you. And he starts teaching him, and it's really sweet. They like call each other friend, and I don't know, like I just really overall like the vibe of it a lot more. It still was kind of like a dark, eerie, like the way that it's like filmed, but I will say it's still full-on satire. You can't take it too seriously. I think I'm landing at another 3. But I just love the moment when the bride comes alive and just screams. Just like screams, like, oh my gosh, I love it. Now I'm ready to jump into the new 2025 Frankenstein. I am so excited because I really think the romance aspect of it, I think, is there from like what I've seen. Or people are just really, really thirsting over him. We will see. I know the Bride one that is coming out next year might have a little bit more of like that romance element to it. Who knows? But I'm excited about it because my next book up is Angelika Frankenstein Makes Her Match. I've already started it, you guys, and I am eating this up. All of these other books that I've been reading, I really have loved, which it's just been like Frankenstein and then Eynhallow. But like even Eynhallow, like it gave me the vibe of like, oh my gosh, I think I would really like a monster romance out of this, because although she's not falling for the monster, she's falling for the doctor in it. I was just like, where with this, it follows brother and sister. We have Angelika and her brother Victor, of course, Victor Frankenstein. They are both scientists. They are orphan children. Like Victor's been raising Angelika along with like this lady of their house for as long as she can remember, because their parents tragically died, and he is like determined to make his creation. But while he's at it, Angelika's right there with him and as his helper, but also she's like, I want to create my own. And they joke about how she's never going to find somebody to marry because she's so different and odd. And being back in this time, Victor can easily pick up a woman because he's a man, no matter what he likes, no matter that he's like this mad scientist, but a woman in trousers and who is also a mad scientist will not find herself a man. So it's a running joke between them, and so she decides to craft her own monster as well, and both of their creatures become alive. It is so funny, like, being in Angelika's mind. They're both so dramatic, but it's hilarious. I had started this physically, knowing that I also could get the audiobook on my Hoopla if I chose to. And I started it last night and then had to start dinner. So I was like, I'm just gonna switch over to the audiobook. The accent and the way that this narrator like speaks like them makes it even more dramatic and just drawn out and just satire and funny, and I'm eating it up. I have never read a Sally Thorne. I know about The Hating Game, and I believe she has a couple more. Second First Impressions, 99% Mine, and The Hating Game. That's what's listed in this book, at least. I have heard very mixed reviews, so going into this, I was like, oh, this looks really fun. It is reminding me of one of my favorite movies, which is newer movies, Lisa Frankenstein. I love that movie so much that I was like, I want to give this a go and see what I think. And it definitely is giving that vibe. This is definitely set, did it say actually? This one's set like back in time. Also, it has a map of like their property, like their house and the surrounding, like there's a chapel and then a cemetery and there's like a forest, their barn slash laboratory where all this goes down. Yes, it's in England in 1814. So it is older. And they do, while they do say some things that, you know, kind of go in line with that time, it also is such a modern contemporary take that sometimes they say things I'm just like they would never say back then. But I feel like it's a little bit more enjoyable for us readers now because of that aspect. But also they're just so ahead of their time. They definitely make it, or she makes it very clear in the book that it's the Frankensteins who they just don't give a shit, you know, like having sex before marriage. And although like Victor is like betrothed to Elizabeth, it's like they're kind of just like all over each other and very mushy and like in front of people all over the place. Like you wouldn't get that vibe then, but with the Frankensteins, it's a little bit different. They really don't care. Some of the things they say, I'm just like, oh my God, like that would never fly then. But I think it also adds to the satire and funniness of it. I don't know, I really like it so far. There has been a little bit of a questionable dynamic because she has created this monster and they don't know his name. They've pieced him together, but he has awoken, and it's this fun concept of like amnesia where like he doesn't remember who he is, and he's been pieced together with like all these other body parts that he's like, that wasn't mine. This, you know what that is towards. So they're calling him Will right now and trying to figure out his identity. But like the whole goal was for her to fall madly in love with him, and she has, and for him to reciprocate that, but he is not. There's definitely moments where you're just like, oh, he likes her. So I do like that. Like they are becoming friends. So I feel like it's going to be friends to lovers. But now the author is throwing in a man named Christopher who is taking a liking to her for the first time in her life, of course, after she's already created her monster. And now it's like this like triangle going on that I'm just like, I don't know if I'm enjoying this. I don't know if I really wanted this. But it definitely is sparking that jealousy within the monster. So I do kind of like that. But at the same time, I don't know, I kind of just wish it was more of just a monster concept and not really like this random guy that's trying to figure out who he was before he died and was brought back to life type of ordeal. I kind of would have just preferred the monster, or somebody like in Lisa Frankenstein who is brought back from like years and years and years ago because it's in the 80s and he was, you know, probably alive back in 1819. So yeah, that's my critiques and my thoughts and what I really like about it so far. The writing style is a little contemporary for me. I don't know if I really see this being a 5-star. When I first started it, absolutely, but the more it went on, some of the things that are said and done, I'm not a huge fan of. So it's kind of like teetered my rating down a little bit. But I'm still enjoying my time with it. I want to see where it goes. I'm intrigued and I'm eating it up. And I have been giddy in some parts, so that's saying something. But yeah, that is my check-in. I'm also starting the Junji Ito Frankenstein because this is a physical read. I clearly haven't made it very far, but I did want to go ahead and start it too so that I can go ahead and wrap up this vlog in a day or so. But yeah, between these and the movies, I'm kind of wanting to fit in a Lisa Frankenstein rewatch because, I mean, Lisa Frankenstein. And I'm also gonna I'm gonna try to get my kids to watch Frankenweenie for the first time. We'll see how that goes. I loved it growing up, like not the cartoon, the original that Tim Burton, like, it was like something like he thought out and was just like, you know, this is such a cool concept, a spin on Frankenstein. So yeah, that one I grew up loving and it was one of my favorites when I was little. So yeah, I'm excited to revisit it and hopefully have them tag along with me.
Someday we'll have our last conversation and drink our last cup of coffee. Someday we might be 80 and think about the different things we used to say. All the memories of you will just become a ghost of a smile caught in the wind. Someday it'll be the last day. One day it could be over. The moon could seem so far away, despite all the adventures that we promised we'd go on again and again. All the memories of you and all the stories we were part of, lost in the wind. Someday.
So it's been a minute since I've checked in with you guys. I took the other night to just sit down and finish wrapping as much presents as possible. There was like this honor choir going on where the boys had like some friends in the honor choir, so they wanted to go and see that with James, so he took them. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get presents wrapped tonight. And I also watched the new 2025 Frankenstein movie in the process. It was incredible. I think they did an amazing job. The direction of it and acting and just everything, the story and how it was told. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I do think it is very, very long. This movie is like 2 hours long, but it is worth the watch. It is so beautifully done. Scene to scene is just gorgeous. I feel like the repetition that I am seeing in all of these different books and movies that I'm watching is so many pieces of the original, but not quite the original. But I do feel like this movie really strived to be the book, and I honestly feel like it's probably the closest thing that I have found to be like the book, and more of a this love desire throughout it, of this yearning, like unforbidden yearning, but also the revenge plot. And that whole part of the story, I feel like is lost in a lot of work or done in a different way. And I just feel like this one did such a phenomenal job of really staying true to it, but also like adding these theatrics to the storyline that were just visually like just so beautiful. Absolutely loved it. Gave it 5 stars. All right, I have now moved you guys down to the ground because I have quite a bit of like check-ins to film. So I was like, I'm sitting down taking it easy. With that, I had to also mention Angelika Frankenstein Makes Her Match, because I did finish this book as well. It went downhill for me. I think I'm still landing at like maybe a 3 or a 4. I think I would give it a 4, but it's just a 4. And I think it's the overall enjoyment. I got probably like 50% of the way into this book. I really liked the persona and personality of these two siblings. I feel like I gave a lot of it away in like the last clip, so I don't really want to say too much more on that. Besides the fact that I just feel like it did too much. Like I feel like it could have been like toned down a little bit. I think I'm still just really looking for this monster romance. Like, just simplified. Like, it doesn't have to be this extravagant and like trying to fall in love and like pushing something that maybe isn't there. And I don't know, it just felt like by the end I was just kind of like, I don't even care anymore, you know? And I don't know, just different choices that were made or things that were decided just really weren't for me. And I found myself probably 75% of the way just kind of getting bored and being like, really don't like the tropes that they're trying to throw in here, or like the directions that she's trying to take with this. Like, it didn't have to be this way, you know? I would have gotten more enjoyment if it was like kind of what I was talking about in the last clip. So yeah, my Lisa Frankenstein heart, this is just not as good for me. And I know that they're two different types of media, but story-wise, Lisa Frankenstein, it has my heart. I have also been making my way through Frankenstein by Junji Ito, and listen, this is the brain fog for like around the holidays, because clearly it says story collection right there, you know? Also says story collection on the spine. This is a beautiful copy from my library, but yeah, I think I just seen Frankenstein, this stunning cover, and Junji Ito meets Mary Shelley on the back, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to have this. And really, the first like good chunk of this book is like almost half, if not half of this is a retelling, almost play-by-play of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, plus some other things that were thrown into it. Honestly, not to spoil the new Frankenstein movie, but this was almost like spot on to like a lot of that movie. There's definitely other aspects and like side plot moments going on in this one and that one. I still am falling under the like, I love how all of these all have the same concept, which of course that's why I'm doing this video, but like doing their own spin on it in a way of like, I don't know, they're just being like, ugh, how do I explain this? Brain fog. Like, for instance, they all take something from the original, but I love how some of the retellings or some of the movies, this type of concept, although they take something from the original, they also are taking things from each other. So like the new Frankenstein movie, taking stuff from Frankenstein, the novel by Mary Shelley, but also taking iconic moments from the movies from the 30s that are completely different than the book. That's kind of what I'm talking about. I just feel like they continue to just inspire each other and go off on these like little tangents that had nothing to do with the actual Frankenstein as well. And it's a really cool touch. The illustration and everything, as always, is incredible. Honestly, if it was just this, 5 stars, because I mean, it's Frankenstein. But the rest of this is short stories that I am making my way through right now, and so far they have just been so disturbing and interesting, but also kind of just a little out of place with this, and wondering why this was made into a short story collection. The first one, Next Spectre, I was literally like, and they all follow the same boy is what I'm gathering. And there's like different multiverse, or there's like a multiverse. So like there's different universes and he's seeing himself in different universes, and some of him are evil and some of them are not. It's a little confusing and a little all over the place. I am enjoying it, but I don't think it's a perfect 5 for me. Next Spectre is literally about him offing a friend and burying them, and then they're haunting him and their neck is growing like crazy. And I'm gonna be super vague here because these are short stories. There's much more to the story, but I'm just giving you guys just something from it to let you understand like they're weird. Bog of Living Spirits is about this bog that people, there's just like this urban myth and legend about like the bog taking people and people disappearing in the bog, and it goes very dark. I think all of these go dark. Hopefully I'm not skipping any. Intruder is about like his house, and I believe this one was about like his house and how there's like portals to the different dimensions, and he is seeing like himself from that, and it's like the evil self. It also like plays into like the past stories. Honestly, the more I'm thinking about the stories I've read so far, I'm like, they're actually really freaking cool and interesting. So I don't know why I'm teetering more to a 4-star with it. I don't know. Maybe the last few stories will like really wow me and change my mind on that. But I think that there's just something about the writing and sometimes like how abrupt the endings can kind of be that I kind of want more from them. The Strange Tale of Oshikiri, if I'm saying that correctly. This one, him seeing this like classmate of his and her kind of being very distraught, and she's running from him, and then all of a sudden she disappears. And then him seeing her at school and she's just acting completely normal and coming to terms with the fact that there is these different dimensions and different versions of himself, but also everyone else. And then some of them are corrupt or evil, and some of them are even dead. Like it's very eerie. Each one of these stories is completely different yet intertwined somehow. I think I have 1 or 2. Yeah. The Strange Tale of Oshikiri, The Walls, and Face Firmly in Place, I think are my last 2. But yeah, they've just been very disturbing imagery, very disturbing stories. I like the strange and unusual stories though, so I do really enjoy it. But with these, there is just something so abrupt about them that I think is just making me think, yeah, this is a great time, but not like an all-time favorite, I guess. But anyways, I'm going to keep reading, and I will check back in to wrap up this video very soon.
do not mind my surrounding area. My bed is not made. It is what it is, and my son is currently in the shower. So if you hear the shower, that's why. We're getting ready to leave. I have been gone for a minute. There's been a lot going on. Ultimately, though, I got a head cold that I've been dealing with. I am finally, like, feeling better. I still sound bad, but, like, I'm finally feeling better. So I thought I would catch up on some filming. So you guys are gonna see me in this outfit multiple times because I have so many check-ins to do today. But I wanted to wrap up this video. It's been a long time coming and I haven't posted a video for a minute. I have so many videos for this end of the year that I don't know how I'm going to be able to post all of them, complete all of them, or even work them into the new year, so please bear with me. With that being said, I'm landing at a 4-star with this. The last couple of stories continue to just be very weird, depressing. It continued on with this different, like, multiverse and these same characters but in different lives and kind of worlds colliding sometimes with like slips in the dimension, and then you have these people who are seeing them other selves do horrific things and almost like battling with themselves. I don't know. I liked it. I enjoyed the weirdness. I enjoyed the strangeness. And I feel like that's been a repeating element of his. I just find some of his work to be a little young, almost like a YA, which this does say teen from my library. So that's probably why as well. But I've really enjoyed his work so far that I've read, and will continue to pick up some more to explore more of his work. I don't know, I'm just not at a perfect 5. Again, I feel like if this was just the Frankenstein retelling, it would have been a 5. But the other ones, there was so much I liked about them, but I also just felt like there was so much that was left out from each short story that it kind of, each one left me wanting more, wanting to know what was the reason of this, or what would have happened if the story continued. Yeah, they're just kind of abrupt, and sometimes like it feels like a slower pace, and then the ending is so rushed, and I usually hate that. So yeah, I am landing at a 4-star with Frankenstein by Junji Ito. I believe all of his that I've read so far, which have only been a couple, I've landed, I think, at 4-star, if I'm not mistaken. You will have to let me know your recommendation in the comments so that I can read some more. But also, we did, in fact, watch Frankenweenie, and I had such a good time. I can't believe that it's only like 22 minutes long. As a kid, I always thought it was like so much longer for some reason. I guess everything seems longer when you're a kid, though. It's like car trips. But it holds up. It's still an amazing short movie. I love it so much. It's so funny. It's so spot on to Frankenstein in both the movie and the book form. I feel like it is more so the movie form. Like it's just like almost a play-by-play of Frankenstein, but like with a dog. And I love that. I just think there's something so cute about it. And I definitely want to revisit the cartoon at some point because it's been a minute. I think I've literally only watched it once, but I remember watching it being like not as good as the live action. My kids, however, did enjoy it. Roman kind of like walked in and out. He's not really like a huge sit for that long, even though it is 22 minutes. In his mind, he's like, he hears movie and he's like, I don't want to sit through a movie right now. The parts he did sit through, he liked. Axel loved it. Axel got very emotional and he cried, and I had to kind of spoil the ending for him because he thought, Mom, how could you have me watch a movie like this? It was very sad. But that's going to wrap up my Frankenstein video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. If you have any more Frankenstein recs, let me know because I am not done. Like, I want to read more monster books. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you in my next one.
Someday